Very important.
Disha, we'll come back to you in a minute. We have just to analyze this announcement that has come from the PMO, from the Prime Minister of India having acquired advanced powers in space to bring down a satellite. We have Professor Brahma Chellaney, the professor at Center for Policy Research, joining us. Professor Chellaney, if you can explain this to us, what exactly does this mean in terms of space prowess?
Space wars have long been themes of Hollywood movies, but space wars are becoming a reality because if you look at the major powers like the United States, Russia, and China, they either have operational anti-satellite weapons or they are developing such weapons for deployment. And therefore, in a conflict that involves India and China, India's electronic infrastructure, including its space-based capabilities, would be very vulnerable to an attack by China. And therefore, developing counter-space capabilities is essential for deterrence. And therefore, today's announcement that India has successfully killed a low-orbiting satellite with a anti-satellite weapon, that development is very significant.
So it's more as a deterrence capability, not a defense of our satellites, right?
It's deterrent because without a deterrence, the enemy would be tempted to strike first and to knock out all your space-based platforms, especially satellites, and that would leave India naked in a military sense. And therefore, developing this kind of capability sends a deterrent message to the enemy that if it were to attack India, attack India's space-based platforms, that India would in return the enemy's space-based platforms too.
Okay, so strong messaging as well coming in from India about its space defense capabilities. Mr. Chellaney, there was an article made by the DRDO chief, and this was about 6 years ago, where he said that we can show our anti-satellite capability if the government gives its nod. If you could tell us the significance of Prime Minister Modi himself making the announcement. What has been the role of the government in this?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because we had taken the moral high ground, as we often do in India on various issues. The previous government had been reluctant to give the go-ahead to the DRDO to operationally demonstrate India's ASAT capability, ASAT meaning anti-satellite capability. Now, this government, led by Prime Minister Modi, gave the go-ahead to the DRDO, and therefore now we're seeing the fruit of that capability in terms of a demonstrated kill.
Does this mean that there are more allied capabilities that ISRO would have developed?
Well, I'm sure there are some capabilities that DRDO would not like to make public or even signal in public, but often it depends on the government in office whether it's willing to give the go-ahead to the Defense Research and Development Organization or its affiliated agencies to test out those capabilities. Now, in this case, ASAT capabilities, that is, anti-satellite capabilities, have already been demonstrated by China, Russia, and the United States, and China being an adversary of India, with which we have fought a war, and conflict with China is always a probability that our defense planners have to reckon with. Given China's capability in anti-satellite warfare, it had become essential for India to develop a counter to China's ASAT capability. And today's kill of a low-orbiting satellite through an ASAT weapon sends a very powerful message to China in particular, because this technology has no relevance to Pakistan. Pakistan doesn't have this capability and is not seeking to develop such a capability.
Fair enough. Does this improve India's standing in the international sweepstakes? I mean, you become a slightly more respected power, so it's not just vis-a-vis China, but generally higher recognition for India's capabilities?
Absolutely. But India has demonstrated its space capabilities both in the civilian sphere, by sending a mission to the Mars successfully, and also in the military sphere. And this anti-satellite kill is a demonstration of India's military-relevant space capability.
Fair point. Thank you very much, Professor Chellaney, for putting that into perspective. We were a bit groping in the dark as to what exactly the significance is, but it is a major deterrence capability that India has now achieved, especially because China has the capability to destroy our satellites, and now India has an equal capability, and therefore, hopefully, that's a big deterrent.
And we joined that elite list because up until now, only US, China, as well as Russia have demonstrated their ASAT capability, and now India becomes the 4th country to do that. We'll slip into a very short break on that note. When we come back, as always, it will be a chat in the commodity space. Brahma Chellaney of Monarch Net Worth Capital joins it next.